Hey, Sooner football fans. This is your Sooner Football Fans podcast. Today is part 2 of our podcast with BennieandBuds.com, John Jennings and Rob Jennings. Is Baker Mayfield the perfect fit for the Cleveland Browns, and can he bring the Browns out of football hibernation with an ownership group that hasn't been successful in years? Then, Bennie and Buds highlights their upcoming blogs on conference realignment. Is the Big 12 doomed to disappear? Sooner football fans is not associated with the University of Oklahoma, but we do have eligibility left. Boomer. Let's go ahead and transition into, we talked a little bit about the pros. Baker Mayfield landing in Cleveland. What's your guys' opinion on Baker to the Browns? Have y'all bought a Browns jersey yet?
I think it's actually a pretty good landing spot just based on expectations. So, for starters, Cleveland's just been terrible for years and years, but they've actually got potential. I mean, I think they've got some pretty good players, and they've drafted some interesting guys, but they've still lost probably a little more than they should have. You don't have to start. I mean, any kind of increase of winning is going to be, they're all going to look like really smart people. And likewise, there's comparisons to Johnny Manziel. If Baker's just an okay player and just behave, which he will, he's not Johnny Manziel, I think he's going to look like he's been a successful pick.
Yeah, well, and kind of to build off that, there's been a lot of buzz coming out recently. The Patriots wanted to draft Baker and all that kind of stuff, and it seemed to be a lot of people, NFL executives, thought he has whatever that it factor is, the moxie that we all saw in 3 years in Oklahoma. And, with that, if I'm the Cleveland front office, if there's anybody I think who can turn around that organization, it's Baker Mayfield. I mean, he just has something that can galvanize people around him. And, they've been drafting in the top 5 every year for the past however many years. They've got some talent there. It's just a question of getting them all together and actually being able to play, And I don't know that it's going to work. I think taking any quarterback is kind of a crapshoot in the NFL. But if anyone's going to do it, I think Baker's got a pretty good shot.
So let me play devil's advocate here. I did this last time. What does Baker Mayfield bring that Tyrod Taylor can't do or can't do better?
I think it's kind of some stuff on the margins. I think he's a better passer. I think he's a little bit, he can kind of dissect the defense and understand that stuff a little bit better than Tyrod does. He doesn't have the athletic ability that Tyrod Taylor does. He's not going to be able to scramble like that. But, kind of on the same note, he's an underrated athlete himself. There are a lot of plays this year, and the whole time he was in Norm, where he made something out of nothing. If he can buy an extra 4 seconds to find, someone downfield, that's something I think he's more likely to make those throws than Tyrod Taylor is.
That's a good answer.
I'm not an expert on Tyrod Taylor and haven't looked at his stats that much, but something people forget about Baker is he's stunningly efficient, which is going to be very, very useful in the NFL when the plays move that much faster.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. I mean, I think he has a good chance, but if you start listening to, people talk, I don't think he's going to start immediately. I was listening to something on ESPN the other day, and they were talking about how pro teams plan for games. They plan in basically quarters, 4 sets of games. And you might see him if they're if they're 0-2, you probably will see him in the third game. If they're 2-1, you probably won't see him in the fourth game. They're going to play it how everything is operating. If they're losing games because of their defense, they're not going to make that change. I don't think he's going to start immediately. I think he's going to eventually be the starter, but my whole thing has always been is with him to the Browns. There's 2 things. One, being a Steelers fan, a lifelong Steelers fan. Not only do I not like the Browns, but they've historically been a terrible, terrible, terrible organization.
So you're betting against him? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
All right. I'm just saying. There's a lot of people betted against him his whole life.
Yeah, and I'm not.
Didn't really work out for them.
I want him to play great in every game, but 2. I've said that before against the Steelers.
Playoffs in the Super Bowl or what?
No. But it's just not a well-ran organization. Hasn't been for a while. And then I want to throw in the Todd Haley factor. Came from the Steelers. And people can hate on Ben Roethlisberger all they want. He's a whiny baby or he's a big baby, whatever. Him and Haley did not get along. And my understanding of Todd Haley, since Baker got there, I've done a little bit more digging on him. He's kind of a jerk. And how is Baker going to respond to a different coaching style that Todd Haley is going to bring to it, or different personnel dealing with him than what he's dealt with in the past? Any thoughts on any of that stuff?
I mean, you probably know the NFL stuff better than I do by a wide margin. I don't pay that close of attention. But with Todd Haley, he was the offensive coordinator for that Arizona team that went to the championship a few years ago, right? Or was that after him? Back with Kurt Warner?
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah, he was the coordinator there, and the Steelers beat him. I'd throw that in.
So, he's had some pretty successful offenses, and it can make it work. And that's with, more veteran guys. And I don't know specifics of the personality type of stuff, but I do think, there's certainly cause for concern there if he's had trouble relating to guys in the past. And we saw what happened when Baker didn't like his coach Texas Tech. So, maybe he can't get along with everyone, and that could be an issue. But the flip side of that is if, you're the Browns organization, which, who trusts them to do anything? But if you're the Browns organization and you have your franchise quarterback and he can't stand your offensive coordinator, I don't think that offensive coordinator is going to be there too long.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what the Steelers did as soon as his contract ran up the day, the day after the season, and that was into his contract. The Steelers went, yep, okay, instead of buying him out, they let it just ride out. But those are my concerns for Baker. I would have preferred him to go to just about any other team. If you just look through, their history, but they've had some good teams, but I mean, just the recent history. I think I looked up. They've had something like 12 or 15 somewhere in their quarterbacks in the last 4 years. Starting quarterbacks that they brought in, started, didn't work out. And I know they've drafted better. I mean, good Lord, you've had the number 1 draft pick for the last, or a top 10 draft pick for the last 7-8 years. So you should have been able to build a team by now. But, if it's an opportunity for Baker, to be, to like Rob was saying, I mean, when people doubt him, he stands up. But when people doubt you, when you're, again, he's now at the elite of the elite level. Not that he's not an elite athlete and doesn't deserve to be there, but it's different, playing in, walking into Heinz Field or walking into Baltimore, with the Ravens, and than it is to, play Division I football. It's the best of the best. I think he's going to do well. I just don't think. I think he's going to do fine. I don't think the Browns are going to do fine, if that makes any sense. It's not going to be on Baker, as basically, when he does become the starter. I don't think it's going to be because of him that they don't do anything any different. That's just me. So,
Yeah, sounds about right to me. I think he'll probably get a chance to start later, but yeah. Go ahead, John.
I'd say maybe it's like Sam Bradford and has an okay career, floats around and makes a ton of money.
Yeah. I think we were talking about he's made something like millions of dollars a throw. He hasn't played that, because of injuries. He hasn't played, he hasn't got to play that much and then got traded around. But he's made a whole lot of money, and and I do. I mean, I know it sounds, I joke about it and stuff. I am, I'm a football fan. I love the Sooners and I love the Steelers, and I think it's great that everybody, we want our players to do well. I just don't, personally, I don't think it's the best fit. I think there's going to be some issues come up, and I hope I'm wrong, with the exception of 2 games every year in the next couple of years. But
so where do you think would be a better fit? See, I think it's a perfect fit for him, but
really,
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I thought Miami would have been a better fit for him. But a lot of people thought the Jets, but the Jets were terrible. But
I was thinking Miami and Denver were kind of the two I was hoping for on draft night, but I kind of had the Browns up there too, just because of, what if he turns it around? That's a pretty great
that's a
pitch
great
for Baker Mayfield and Oklahoma football as a whole.
Yeah, and again, I'm not, it's not that I don't like Baker and all of that stuff. It just if you, I'm 51 years old. I'm an old guy, or I'm on the backside of the hill starting to go down, and the Browns historically have never been that very, that good. And in my lifetime, they'll creep up. With the Kozar days, they had some pretty decent teams, but more times than not, they're cellar dwellers. And I've shared this before too. I was at the draft. I talked to a bunch of Browns fans, and they all felt the same way. I mean, it was, hey, I'm happy with it. If our ownership doesn't screw it up, we'll be good. But history is, even to the fans, they're like, and some of them were like, it doesn't matter. They'll screw it up in 3 years anyway. So we're happy with it. Hopefully we can win some games and do some stuff here pretty quickly, but they'll screw it up in 3 or 4 years. That's how the Browns fans feel about it. So, well, I shouldn't say that. The ones I talked to, that's how they felt about it. But it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I think there's a pretty good chance that the situation goes horribly and either ends with him flaming out or getting traded or signing someone as a free agent. I think that's a very, very realistic possibility. But, every one of these tortured sports franchises turns around eventually. And I don't know. I think a guy like Baker's, your best shot to do something like that. I mean, I think 5 years ago we could have had the same conversation about the Cubs always screwing up everything. But, eventually you get the right management in there and things turn around.
Yeah, that's true. But
just a quick update here. Sooners lead UCF 3-0.
Baseball?
Yeah, Murray hit one to the warning track, but that was it.
Yeah. What did it? Was it an inside the park home
run?
No,
he was out. He was out.
All right, you guys are fixing to do a whole segment on your website about conference realignment. You want to go into some details of what you guys are fixing to put out there?
Yeah, so if you're listening, you're hearing this first. It's the first time we talked about it, and you're probably thinking, okay, kind of weird timing. It's, May 2018. That's not really a thing right now. But I did some research and just kind of digging around, and as we look to the future, the grants of rights, a couple of different conferences are coming out at the same time as Big 12. And the narrative for so long has been, especially since like A&M and Missouri left, the Big 12 was the weakest conference. Well, I think it's changing. I think the narrative is changing a little bit in a good way for the Big 12. So we've written a whole series called After the Big 12 about the gloom and doom of where everyone's going to go, and listed all the different scenarios. So our next series is going to be about teams we want to add to the Big 12 and another conference we think might be nearing and either its end or some major changes. So I want you to kind of stay look out for that. We're going to put a post up pretty soon. What I want everyone to do is to go to the post and either leave a comment with what team you would like to see, or you can go to our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Bennie and Buds, and leave us a comment there on what team you'd like to add and why. So that's my teaser. So I look forward to seeing all you over there.
All right. Well, guys, hey, it's been fun as always. We appreciate you guys coming on, and all the fans out there. Go to their website, bennyandbuds.com. There's great articles out there, great blogs. And like I said, facebook.com/Bennie and Buds. Go like their page. They put a lot of great stuff out. It's been fun, guys, and we'll do it again soon. Boomer Rob.
Boomer Terry.
Boomer John and Rob.
Boomer.
Thanks for listening to the Sooner Football Fans Podcast. If you want to be on the podcast and talk Sooner football with us, go to www.soonerfootballfans.com. Click on the How to Be on the Podcast tab, fill out the form, and we'll get you on. Boomer.